Born on May 6, 1987, Aaron Meyer grew up like a lot of kids everywhere. Happy, healthy, full of fun, surrounded by friends, active in sports, a typical student, supported and loved by his mom Kathy and his dad Tom, and idolized by his little brother Patrick.
It was always fun to watch them in the yard. Patrick was always in the sandbox. Aaron was always running around the yard with swords or whatever. It was always really fun to go to their sporting events.
So one of the things that I remember really, I think about every day is when I'd come home and I'd come in through the door into the kitchen, and I would hear Aaron yell, "Dad!" And he'd line up at the end of the family room, and he'd come racing to me, and I'd pick him up, and then right behind him would be little Patrick, and he'd come toddling over to me, and I'd pick him up.
My favorite memory was probably once he got his driver's license, because I could be cool and pull into my school and get dropped off by my big brother, and all my friends would see it. And that was just kind of our 15-minute bonding time before I went to school. And he'd always say, "If you need a ride, I'll come pick you up," and that sort of thing.
And then when he got older, it was always nice because he'd come flying in the door, "Mom, I'm home." And then he always shared his day. He was one who liked to talk about the day of what happened. So that was my favorite part, when he'd come home and share things after school.
One of the things about Aaron was that there was always activity here. He was always bringing friends over, and his groups of friends ran across the spectrum. He was able to make friends with everybody.
But unfortunately and unpredictably, Aaron's normal childhood took an all too common turn. When sometime around his 16th birthday, Aaron began experimenting with marijuana. And while Tom and Kathy intervened almost immediately, it took 6 months and a pre-dawn surprise visit from an off-duty deputy sheriff to get Aaron on the road to recovery and back on the path to the happy, healthy life everyone had always expected for him.
We'd look at it, and I always think it's like watching a tree. You can tell it's changing, but you don't know if it's changing the way it should be or not. But you can't exactly see it change from day to day, you just feel it. And so some of Aaron's behavior issues seem to be more than just disobedient. And by the time fall came around and the football season had started, and Aaron was expected to be a contributor, and he wasn't caring, and that seemed to be a real problem. That seemed to indicate a problem. And then school started, and he didn't care about school, and he was not doing work, and his car had been taken away from him, and he didn't care. So there wasn't any repercussions that he cared about. And we had reached the end in November. It was very chaotic at home and a lot of conflict. Kathy and I didn't know if we were the ones who were crazy. Patrick was 12 years old at the time, and he was caught in the midst of it. We feared for Aaron's life. We feared for safety of other people around him. We feared for his brother's safety. We feared for our own safety and sanity. Didn't know what to do. So we started looking at options when a friend mentioned it to us that you don't have to just let him go. He does need professional help.
So on December 2nd, 2003, Aaron was escorted onto a flight from Madison to Prineville, Oregon. Like other kids in his situation, Aaron's immediate reaction was defiance. But the Academy's challenging academic, physical, and psychological curriculum reawakened Aaron's sense of the son and brother and friend he'd been and the man he wanted to become. 13 months later, Aaron returned home, clean, sober, and committed. With only a few credits left, Aaron was looking forward to earning his high school degree and then returning to Oregon, where he planned to attend Bend Community College and live with friends he'd made at Mount Bachelor Academy, friends who would support each other in their quest to stay substance-free.
Once he returned, I really saw the brother that I always wanted and prayed that I would get back. And, you know, even though he was going through the struggles, I still had a close bond with him, and I still saw potential in him, I guess. And once he came back and he returned, he was really kind and really caring, like I always thought he was, and it really showed. I really appreciated having him back and acting the way he was. And our friendship really grew back to what it should be, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
I saw a lot of, big brother behavior on Aaron's part with Patrick, kind of, no, Patrick, you don't really want to be doing that. Or, he was having a difficulty with a couple friends, and Aaron was like very protective of them. It was good.
Then, in May, 4 weeks before Aaron would earn his degree, Aaron agreed to give a friend a ride to a job interview. Tragically, Aaron died at the scene. Aaron was clean and sober and giving a ride to a friend who was also battling addiction. Aaron was doing the right things, taking care of his sobriety and helping a friend in need. His family was ultimately able to see beyond their pain. To continue their bond with Aaron, the Meyer family found a way to put Aaron's plan for his recovery into action for others.
How we began the foundation, I actually don't remember very clearly because it was early after Aaron died, and I know that we were all in a haze at the time, but there was some discussion from Aaron's teenage friends and adult friends that they'd like to do something in his memory. And there was money that came in from the funeral, and we thought we should put that to a good use. And so pulled together a few people who knew Aaron and could make a relevant foundation. And they got together, and Patrick was one of those people. They had some meetings and created a formal foundation and decided that they were going to do something, they just didn't know what to do. And so there was a period of time of exploration.
He wanted to, when he was done with high school, he had decided that he would move back to Oregon with some friends from Mount Bachelor Academy and go to community college and live together. He thought living with people who were going through the same struggles as him would be beneficial. To live with others that were going through the same struggles as he. They understood each other. And he had become really close with friends from Mount Bachelor. They did a lot of emotional growth together, so they had an incredible bond.
They knew how to talk about things that were bothering them. And it was about probably March of '05 when Aaron started to conclude what he wanted to do, and he said, as he explained the idea of living together with guys who were in recovery, he said to me, "Dad, it'll work because nobody knows what we go through like us." And the plan, the idea, the seed for Aaron's house was Aaron's idea. It wasn't something that an adult or a mentor or a counselor or a parent said, "Hey, why don't you do this?" It was an idea that he had for himself.
One of the things we're excited about with Aaron's house is the opportunity for young people to be able to connect and find support in their community without having to be far from their roots or their families. And we really have limited access in Dane County and in Wisconsin to sober houses. It fills a gap, and one of the things in this population of 18 to 25-year-olds, it's really important for kids, for other young people, to understand that you can be cool and you can have fun and deal with life without drugs and alcohol. And the main thing we're trying to do is dispel the myth that you're kind of a geek if you're not using drugs, and we really want young people to celebrate that they can be enough without drinking and doing drugs.
2 years and 3 months after Aaron's death, the house that bears his name welcomed its first residents. Young men and women like him, normal kids from loving families who somewhere, somehow suffered the illness that is addiction, and then worked smart on their journey of recovery. And now in Madison, they'll have a place where they can live, learn, and support each other. Because, as the Meyers know, what saves kids like Aaron are their families. Their immediate families, the extended families who rally around them, and the new families that will form in places like Aaron's house to provide the kind of peer support Aaron knew was so important.
And I really like to make it clear with people that this isn't a way of honoring Aaron. This is a way of just continuing an idea of his. I'm oftentimes asked, what do you think Aaron would say about the Aaron's House project? So I think what Aaron would say about it is a lot of what is being said about it, that it pulls people together, it connects a community.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rohrman, men's soccer coach at the University of Wisconsin. As a father, I speak for parents everywhere when I say I can't begin to imagine how difficult it would be to lose a loved one. I admire the courage of Aaron's family and the generosity of those who helped build Aaron's house. Because of that courage and generosity, Madison now has a tremendous way to help other young people on their way to recovery. My wife Nancy and I support the Aaron Meyer Foundation because their project is a smart idea for the young adults.